Well, I think they're very bad for our country. I really think they must hate our country. I think the four congressmen we're talking about, the congresswomen, what they've said about Israel, what they've said about our country, when they talk about disgusting people, when they talk the way they talk, when the one mentioned that brown people should speak for brown people and Muslim people should speak for Muslim people. And you hear all this, it's not what our country is all about. No, I think they're very bad for our country. I think they're very bad for the Democrat Party. I think you see that. And they're pulling the Democrats way left. Nobody knows how to handle them. I feel they're easy to handle. To me, they're easy to handle because they're just out there. They're very bad for our country, absolutely.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts where we're having to figure out the answers about who were the primary targets that Jeffrey Epstein went after as far as victims. We're going to take a look at an incredible set of evidence that Q lays out for us connecting Rachel Chandler, her modeling agency, to Jeffrey Epstein and how he was procuring young women, plus a whole lot more and a bunch of different news stories. So you guys are going to want to stick around and check this out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Thank you guys for coming here. If you haven't, please come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and make sure you hit that like button if you guys like this content. Now, today we're going to pick up right where we left off. We left off at Q Post 3465. We're picking up here at Q Post 3466, and there's a lot to go over, including, like I talked about in the beginning, the fact that we're getting more information that is being given us to connect the modeling agencies of both Jeffrey Epstein that he was associated with, as well as Rachel Chandler, and how those were connected, and how that talks about a whole another set of nefarious things that we need to continue to investigate and dig deeper on, but also a bunch of other stuff from the Q posts and things about the Mueller testimony, you name it, coming up here, plus a bunch of news organizations, including the fact that the MAGA coalition is trying to sue QAnon in open court. This is a real lawsuit. You guys are going to stick around to hear all about it. A bunch of news stories to get into. But before we do that, I always encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media. Look, you guys are what keep this content getting out there. The algorithms are obviously gamed against getting this information out there. The mainstream media is always going to be the authoritarian, or the authoritative, as they say. I call it authoritarian source that they're going to be shoving down your throat at YouTube. We have to get around it. All you have to do is hit the share button on this video and watch these videos and share them as well. And if you don't know what QAnon is and the Great Awakening, and you're like, what's this guy talking about? Please come here and watch this video. What is QAnon and the Great Awakening? That'll give you all the information you need about that and a whole lot more. So with that being said, obviously we're going to start here. First, this is a Q post from yesterday where Q was basically kind of continuing with the theme that we were seeing here, saying, giving us a Napoleon Bonaparte quote, saying, never interfere with an enemy in the process of destroying himself. And Q says, these people are stupid. Enjoy the show, Q. And then next, an Anon posts this picture, I think that we've gotten from Q before, of these three houses, all with American flags in what looks like a picturesque neighborhood. And Q just points to this post. And I got to say, it's quite refreshing. That's actually exactly how my house looks like on the outside. There's a beautiful American flag, a nice big front porch, and a walkway just like that. So we are the Americans out here living in this country. I mean, this is exactly what I think is a picturesque scene. And whether you're living in a mansion or you're living, somewhere else, an apartment, you can still put your flag up. You can still show your pride in your country. And I think that's what this is reminding us. So fly your flag proud and make sure that you show your neighbors that you support this country. And that's an important thing, I think. And I do it every day. My flag's flying day and night, and it is lit up it's lit up all night long with a light. So I'm not breaking any rules, but my flag flies all the time here. Just throwing that out there. Now, the next one is a bunch of stuff. So there's these two posts here. And this is big news, okay? Big news. So first, it gives us this one that Q gave us a while ago. The illusion of choice. 90% of the media that's basically consumed through mainstream mass media is produced by 6 corporations, right? And it talks about how the fake news consolidation was the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. And then it talked about antitrust laws, right? And then it gave this outline and this excerpt from the Sherman Act saying every contract combination or conspiracy in restraint of trade and any monopolization, attempted monopolization, or conspiracy or combination to monopolize. The FTC's competition mission is to enforce rules of the competitive marketplace, the antitrust laws. That's exactly what we're looking at. So this is a post we got all the way back in August of 2018 of Q telling us that there were antitrust laws in place and they were going to be enacted. And now we take this post and we go to the next one that Q gives us, this little excerpt talking about the FTC's competition mission is to enforce the rules of the competitive marketplace, the antitrust laws. These laws promote vigorous competition and protect consumers from anti-competitive mergers and business practices. And Q says reconcile Google, Facebook, Twitter, change we can believe in. Now this is a previous post we got from Q. Now what do we have today? Well, interestingly enough, we have this Twitter post from the Trump Students for Trump, and it says change we can believe in. So this is the post that we've gotten talking about a breaking new story coming out of the White House. The DOJ, or coming out of the DOJ, I should say. The DOJ has announced they're opening an antitrust probe into social media companies without the discipline of meaningful market-based competition. Digital platforms may act in ways that are not responsive to consumer demands. So this is an open investigation going into these big tech companies and looking at the exact things that we've been highlighting for the last 2 years, if not longer, about these deceptive practices that Google and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter are all engaged in order to tilt the open platform and make it into a one viewpoint, or to promote one viewpoint over another, i.e. liberal, extreme leftists, as I like to say, over conservative. That's what they're doing. They're engaged in it every single day. They're literally removing people's freedoms and violating their civil rights, in my opinion, by denying them the right to speak on these open speech platforms, which were originally placed in a category under law as to be open speech and therefore not liable for the content which is posted on there. They had certain legal immunities through Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, so on. You guys know the story there. I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but look, this is happening. And to me, it's really interesting when you see this story in conjunction with this story as well. Just wanted to point this out while we're here, that tomorrow we're having a big announcement that James O'Keefe is planning to reveal another Google insider who's going to blow the whistle on political bias. And I can't wait to read or watch this. So you guys check out James O'Keefe, Project Veritas tomorrow if you guys want to get more info on that. So with that being said, change we can believe in. Yes, we can. I love how we can use all of Obama's slogans to talk about how we're going to dismantle all of their corrupt policies that they allowed to happen and or implemented themselves. So this is what we're dealing with here. Obviously, this is a big deal. Obviously, this is a big story. This investigation is gonna really take it up to another level as far as forcing big tech to recognize that they're obviously working against the American people, and they need to stop that. It's an unfair practice, and they cannot continue to exhibit their bias in everything, especially as far as politically speaking, because you have a corporation that's more powerful than any other in the world, who is, according to Dr. Epstein, who was interviewed on or gave testimony on Capitol Hill to Ted Cruz. We've seen the clip. Dr. Epstein said that at minimum, Google in the 2016 election swayed 2.6 million votes. At the most, they could have swayed up to 10 million. And in our country, that is enough to sway an entire election. So this has to be addressed, and I'm glad President Trump is getting on it and the DOJ is getting on it as well. Now, we have a tweet here from @SeanCorticon that he's been mentioned here before on the channel, definitely a Q researcher, been around for a long time, put together this thread. I actually tweeted not his post out earlier, but a similar post about this exact thing, so I'm glad that we're covering it right now. Look, this is the tweet itself to look at, and it talks about Rachel Chandler. It says, This is how Ray Chandler ties directly to child sex slave human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Now, what it does is it gives us this picture of these models who were being featured on the MC Squared modeling agency. And now, the cutout here is, I guess, from an article where it highlights the fact that alleged Epstein victim Virginia Gurf, I can't say that, sorry, said in court filings that Epstein MC Squared modeling agency founder Jean-Luc Brunel and their associates deliberately engaged in a pattern of racketeering that involved luring minor children through MC Squared, mostly girls under the age of 17, to engage in sexual play for money. Now, it gave us these pictures. Now, this is something that Q pointed out to us a while ago about the modeling agencies and how they're connected to these Epstein, the Epstein investigation as a whole, as far as child sex trafficking is concerned. And Q, one of the questions Q asked us is, where did these models go? Right. So there was two sources for this. This was W Magazine and, of course, The Cut. And it says here in the final postscript, it says, Epstein funded the MC Squared modeling agency that worked with Ray Chandler's modeling agency, Midland. And then he says, these people are stupid. And of course, Joe M saying, you've been cued, I would say, referring to the fact that this post was mentioned by Q. And here's your connection. You can go, I just read before this about, and I'm not going to waste your time with it, but there's a Snopes article that is just the most laughably ridiculous article I've ever read in my life. It's literally talking about the picture of Bill Clinton with Rachel Chandler on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. And it's literally this whole article where they're like, well, that is Rachel Chandler and that is Bill Clinton, and they are on a private plane, but we can't prove it's Jeffrey Epstein's plane. And of course we can't, there's no evidence to suggest that there's any connection between, and it's like, they just glance right over the fact that Bill Clinton is on an airplane with his arm around, a private airplane with his arm around like a 15-year-old girl, presumably, and no parents in any, like, it's like, oh, these people are just so sick. And yes, they are stupid. And thank you, Sean Corticon, for this post. Definitely another patriot out there working hard to get the information out. So that is what Q points us to. Now, this is giving us an idea of how they picked and targeted the victims from these agencies, it seems. This is Q saying, target models made to fill out an extensive background report. Targets models asked in detail regarding family. Targets models generally greenlit based on loner insecurity, depressed psychological evaluation. Targets models generally greenlit based on humble, poor family background, prevent possible legal retaliation. The spiderweb connects those most trusted, those most rich, those most powerful, safe, free, highest level security plus max protect Q. Now, this is one of those things that I hate that we have to cover it, but we need to get this information out there. Look at how they chose these women. Now, this is insane. They used this modeling agency as a cover for some sort of child sex trafficking organization, and then they would do like psychological evaluations to figure out if these girls were loners or insecure or depressed, and then they would be greenlit to be basically targeted for this abuse based on that evaluation. And of course it says here, they tried to find women from humble and poor family backgrounds so that they wouldn't be sued. The family didn't have any money to go and legally take them on in court. This is what we're up against. That's like when I say this is an evil that's so much greater than a lot of us can understand. And it's not just an evil that has come of today. This is an evil that stretches back millennia. From the beginning of when there was organized society, I think this evil has permeated the underbelly and the bowels of it, of the darkest places in our society. And this is what they do. They had perfected the idea of targeting these models based on all of the information that the models willingly gave up in order to gain access to that agency, to maybe have a shoot at one of the major magazines, or maybe have a photo shoot with one of the other modeling big modeling companies. So look, this is really the sick things. These are the sick things that we're up against. And when it says the spiderweb connects those most trusted, those most rich, those most powerful, we're talking about Epstein, obviously. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. It goes from Nexium to Epstein. And then the next thing we're going to get into is, unfortunately, it's going to be disturbing, but it's got to come out. The emails from the Wiener laptop and the information that was on there, and then how that connects to different occult societies and practices. This is really sick and disgusting, but we have to cover it. And we have to shine a light on this disgusting abuse. And hopefully that way we can keep it from happening to anyone else. Because regardless if you're on the left or on the right, please, I beg of you to just take a second and think, what if this were my family member who was involved in this? Wouldn't you want to do everything you could to protect them? And even if it's not, can't you just feel in your heart that we should stop this from happening to anyone ever again, if we can? I know that may seem impossible, but look, that's what we're called to do, and that's what we're doing here on this channel and through this movement, I believe. So that's what we're definitely doing, and I really am standing by that. Now, the next one is very fascinating. Here's Senator Ted Cruz talking about a letter that he wrote to Attorney General Barr and to Jeffrey Rosen and to Christopher Wray, asking to start an investigation into Antifa under the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. So there is a RICO case to be built here. This is a criminal organization who is using a method of racketeering, basically, to intimidate others out of their civil rights and their constitutionally guaranteed rights. That is illegal. So this is a perfectly penned letter. You can read it for yourself. I'll leave a link to it. But the long and short of it is, if we can get a RICO going, we can start really going after some of these more organized Antifa groups, then that would be a great step in the right direction. These are organized, fascistic, but it's more like organized crime, like racketeering rackets. I mean, this is something that's been going on in our country for a long time. We've had to actually establish laws, including this RICO Act, which was established to go after the organized nature of crime, right? They've organized themselves into a fascistic mob that goes around beating people for their political ideology, for their political beliefs. That is illegal. That needs to be stopped, and they need to be federally investigated. And then that way we can start bringing them all into federal court. And if you wear a mask and you hit somebody over the head with a bike lock or a baseball bat or a whatever because you don't like what they're saying, then you're going to go to federal prison for a very long time. And all your buddies who you told on social media to help you come and beat up fascists. So that's a great step in the right direction. Obviously, Q points us to that as just a point of reference. And of course, the next one here is this John Solomon tweet. News story from John Solomon that talks about how Joseph Mifsud is the missing piece in the whole Mueller report. The Mueller report is going to be under a huge amount of attention, or under a huge amount of magnification over the next couple of days as Robert Mueller is set to testify. And there's some gaping holes in the official story presented by the Mueller report with regard to Joseph Mifsud. They automatically assume and connect him to Russians, and he is automatically assumed to be a Russian agent. But what it looks like when you start peeling back the layers and realizing the evidence is that Joseph Mifsud was not being directed by the Russians. Rather, he was being directed by foreign intelligence services such as the British at the behest, possibly, of the U.S. in order to set up President Trump for this actual investigation, which we are seeing today. So when Mueller wrote his report, he's purposely left out a huge amount of detail or any type of information really about Joseph Mifsud. Mifsud was in the United States in 2016 in Washington, D.C., while they were in the middle of putting together this huge investigation. They didn't go talk to him. They've made no attempts to contact this guy, although he's listed in the Mueller report as being a primary Russian agent, and it's just a complete joke. Mifsud was put up to it by the Obama administration and foreign intelligence, in my opinion, and Robert Mueller knows that. That's why he didn't go after him, and that's what we need to be asking Robert Mueller when he testifies in front of Capitol Hill, because look, this was a setup. It was a setup. President Trump's called it a setup. It is a setup. It was a coup attempt. It was a false hoax, witch hunt, whatever you want to call it. That's what it was, okay? And George Papadopoulos, who I'm just going to say, I know I'm very close to some of the people who are around him, is coming forward and exposing this because he knows just as well that he was set up, that he's just a patsy, and that this whole thing was put together just to predicate this false Russia hoax witch hunt. It's insane. But there you go. You can read the full report from John Solomon here. I'll leave a link in the description. A couple other things. Here's a weird tweet. So this is funny. This person, Eli Yokley, just posted this story from the Washington Post saying, fun fact, this great story profile of Anthony Scaramucci says former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein was in the Mooch's class at Harvard Law. So I guess they went to school together. And Rod Rosenstein replies, quote, "Things are not always what they seem. The first appearance deceives many. The intelligence of a few perceives what has been carefully hidden." So I guess that's Plato. Not sure what to make of that. Maybe there's more going on than we can even see, another level of chess, but just thought that was interesting. A few other stories. Obviously, this is a big story talking about Comey's cyber spy in the White House. You need to read this if you haven't yet. But this guy, Ferrante, who's working for CNN now as an analyst, I believe, this guy was working in the Trump administration. Basically, according to this report, he was allegedly spying on the president and delivering information straight to James Comey. And of course, this goes into talking about a bunch of other stuff about trying to set, I'll let you read the story if you want to get into it, because we have a few more stories we're going to cover. But this one I thought was interesting. It just came out from the Gateway Pundit, Joe Huft. So interesting read. Now, Jack Posobiec tweeted out here, apparently the MAGA coalition, whom Q has warned us about before, and I have friends that tell me all the time not to trust certain people associated with this MAGA coalition and possibly individuals such as Jack Posobiec. But when you read this story, it's kind of a joke. They've announced that their pending litigation is to be filed in federal court to discover the identity of the author of 8chan posts written by Q or QAnon. Like, first of all, it's the biggest joke lawsuit I've ever seen in my life. It's probably basically a slap, but then there's nobody to even be slapped because nobody knows who QAnon is. So you're basically suing like the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus, right? So good luck. I'm going to go to federal court tomorrow, and I'm going to put in a suit against the Easter Bunny, and we're going to find out who he is once and for all. So MAGA coalition, you know what? Send me the information of your lawyer. I'm going to find out the identity of the Easter Bunny, just like you guys are going to find out who Q is. So I thought that was funny. I thought I'd share it. Apparently George Papadopoulos will be testifying, so that's another little tidbit you guys are going to want to check out. And of course, this is a really sad and tragic story, but really disturbing, and we're trying to figure out more about it. But I guess the FBI, it says here, FBI rocked by public suicide of top FBI agent who investigated Clinton Foundation. So this is actually a story about an FBI agent who was he was a senior advisor, like a special advisory agent at the FBI in the Financial Crimes Division, who went out a few days ago, I guess, or a couple days ago, I guess, with friends from the FBI. After he had a long career at the FBI, he left Wall Street and went to join the FBI, and everyone was like, why did you do that? All of his friends were really shocked, so he went from Wall Street and making a lot of money to the FBI and making none, and then he went and investigated the Clintons, the Clinton Foundation, and now he's at a nightclub and just pulls out his pistol and ends his life on a crowded dance floor. So I don't know what that's about, but I can tell you right now, there's some suspicious stuff about this story, especially when you think of the fact that this guy left a very lucrative job on Wall Street in 2010 to become an FBI agent, and then went on to go investigate the Clinton Foundation, and obviously found nothing, or else there would have been some kind of, findings or whatever. We still haven't heard anything yet, really, about that. So there was obviously something going on here. So obviously, thoughts and prayers and condolences to the family, but yeah. There's another crazy story for you guys. So that's going to be it for me. A few more things before we go. Obviously, come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media to get the word out that way. Also, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that stuff. And don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all of this. A few other ways you can help the channel, come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou. That's a cool way you can help out. And don't forget to check out justinformednews.com. Links to these and everything else will be in the description. This is the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course the latest videos from the channel here as well. So go check that out. And also, I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this video in the description. If you want to support the channel and you want to find and try out a new browser, some people like it, some people are, but this is a browser that's designed to limit ads, and it actually is a way to help support the channel at the same time. So if you guys want to check it out, download it. The link will be in the bottom of the description of this video. You download this browser. It's the Brave browser. It'll help you protect a little bit of your privacy on the internet. Not much of it can really be protected, really, but it'll help you also block ads too if you're tired of ads, and in doing so help me as a creator. So check it out. There'll be a link in the description. I really appreciate that. A couple other ways you can help out the channel, both financially. You can go over here to Patreon, patreon.com, Just Informed Talk. It's the official Patreon page. You come here and click this button to become a patron. It's a crowdfunding website, monthly donation. Set it and forget it. I know you're helping create content on this channel. You guys are what keep this channel alive. Could not do it without you. And also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or an honest donation. Your support keeps this channel alive. Links to everything will be in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. For today, I want to share a little bit of a psalm with you. It's Psalm 56, and it's verse 1 through 4, and I want to share this with you. And it's a call out to God against all this evil that we're up against, and I want to share these words with you. It says, "Be gracious to me, God, for man tramples me. He fights and oppresses me all day long. My adversaries trample me all day, for many arrogantly fight against me. When I am afraid, I will trust in you, in God, whose word I praise. In God I trust, I will not fear. What can man do to me?" And those words, to me, are so powerful. They remind me, and I hope they remind you, that God is within all of us, and that we have to call out to God when we feel like we're being overrun by adversity and things that arise that we seem to not be able to control. The fact that there is such evil that exists in the world, and that they do it so arrogantly, and they flaunt it out in the open. And to me, I look to God. I ask God, come into my heart, help me understand how I can stand up to this, because I will trust in you, Lord, because I praise your word, and I will not fear, because what can man do to any of us if God is for us? Remember those words and share them with your family and friends and everyone. These are words to live by. These are words to help us become stronger in our faith and in our knowledge that God is there for us, protecting us every step of the way. So I hope they strengthen you as well, and let you know that God is with you. The Holy Spirit is powerful in you, and you can do anything through Christ who strengthens you and us all. So I'm going to leave it there. I want to say thank you for watching this episode. Again, come here, click the big red subscribe button if you haven't. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and hit it, punch it, tap it, bop it, karate chop it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.